Hello and welcome to Walter Doodle's Art. This is a charcoal sketch that I'm doing. It is based on a work of art by a guy named Ed or ED. I'm not sure which. I don't know the actual artist's name. It's a black and white image I have of a painting of John Wayne that I'm basing it on, but I really didn't look too much at the drawing of John Wayne. I did not intend this to be anything like a photorealistic. It took about an hour to draw. I've sped it up, of course, here. This was more, what can I get done in an hour? And when I was looking at the reference photo that I have, I would squint, and then I'd often squint at the page that I'm drawing on. Um, I think it got close to looking like kind of what I wanted it to look like at the beginning, but it has its differences. Part of that is I really wanted to focus in on certain areas that are not focused in on with the original artwork, specifically the hauntedness of the eyes. I wanted a little more haunting in the eyes than what is in the painting, and I hope I got that done. The main purpose, though, of this particular drawing is what could I get done in a very brief amount of time. That was the goal. And so that's where I really wanted to make my focus. Also, I wanted to see how can I put in enough realism, which is what I'm working on right now, some of the details, and then smudge that realism out and start kind of bringing in some chaos. And I wanted to see where that would go, and so on that aspect of it, I think I actually got pretty good on it. The paper that I'm using is just Strathmore bright white charcoal paper. It's relatively thin. It's not a thick like you would see like with cold pressed watercolor. This is the rough side, although there's not a ton of difference between the front and the back side. There is a little bit. I can feel it more than I can see it in the texture, but this one I wanted to use that rough side of the paper, and so that's what I've done. Here you see me using a little bit of a kneaded eraser, and then also um, this is some vine charcoal. It is Willow charcoal. I'm starting to get the look, I guess, of John Wayne, although I never did get his face exactly where the shape of his head was particularly to my liking in that way. But I still liked the effect. When I got done with it, I still thought this looked like a decent sketch, and I really did get a haunted look. I was going to try to get more whiskers and things like that in, but I had given myself an hour and I wanted to stop. The process that I have here is just to build up and take away and build up and take away. And eventually I got to a point where, okay, I like what I've got going on there. And then my timer went off and my hour was over, and I told myself, if I'm not done, I'm not done. And I wasn't done. So, and that's where this is going to stay. I'm not going to finish it. Here I am blending all this dark vine charcoal into the page. And here I am erasing parts of it. I think I was using a Kneadable eraser. That one's by Faber Castell. The charcoal I'm using is the Willow Vine Charcoal by SOHO. That you can get. This is interesting. What I'm doing there, I was rubbing the whole page, every part of it, with my fingers. And that gives it not a very hard thing, but that gives it a tone. And then, as you can see here, I'm using a chamois and actually removing some charcoal here and there. And again, I am trying to do huge energy. There's not a lot of real slow movements even in the regular speed. This was done quickly and it was meant to be very energetic. Just a little more blending here and a blending there. This is one of the things I really like about charcoal that you don't get with, say, pencil. Um, you go at the charcoal with energy and you can cover a lot of the page all at once. Just brushing off a little bit of excess stuff here and there. Now I'm going in and I am redefining some of the parts that are supposed to look a little more realistic. And again, there's times I had to go back and correct certain areas and lighten certain areas, erase, and then put back in, and erase and put back in. Charcoal's very messy and very broad, especially this vine charcoal. I did not use any compressed charcoal on this. I had it there in case I wanted to, but I never did get to the point where I wanted to use the vine charcoal. One of the areas I always seem to have trouble with is eyebrows. I'm not sure why eyebrows pose such a problem with me. I erased these eyebrows and put them back in a dozen times, I felt like, before I got done. I never seem to have too much problem with a person's smile. I get that down fairly well pretty soon, I believe. The process of darkening and then lightening and then darkening and lightening, it's just a thing I go through when I am drawing. I don't know what the actual best way to do all these things is. I've never really studied that much charcoal drawing. I've watched a few YouTube videos, but I generally just kind of sit and I go for it. I'm learning a lot. I will be teaching some charcoal here in a bit, and that is something that I'm looking forward to. I've always found that I get these methods, these techniques, and I teach the class known techniques that I've learned, but then it's like the class just goes away from what I'm teaching, and they take some things and they make some things their own, and it's a beautiful process to see. And I've noticed that I do the same thing. These are based on some techniques that I have seen from people who generally start with hitting chaos first, and then they try to pull some realism out of the chaos. I have a tendency to sketch in a basic idea first, and then I will put the chaos into it. I did want some chaos, and you're going to see that that comes in pretty quickly here. I really do like how charcoal lends itself to both so well, and as a result, you get this, is it modern or is it realism? You'll see this when I get to that on the left-hand side of the forehead, for instance. It's just not right. I will put some chaos in there, and I start to pull the chaos into the realism, and in the process, I correct some of the things I did not like about his forehead up there. There is more of a sketchy quality with the end product than if this were, say, one of my pencil drawings, or even pastels, even though pastels, a chalk like this is sort of a chalk. But I have a tendency to be more realistic with chalk than pastels than with charcoal. Charcoal, I have a tendency to really go in terms of more modern. Here I am putting in a few of the more traditional elements, getting some hair, some designs on the hair so that I can look at it and go, yeah, that'll work. I haven't gotten to where I want to get to yet, and that is where I start pulling in the exterior of all of the stuff that's going on here, and pulling it into the drawing itself, the main theme of the drawing itself. There is a little bit of a distortion in this one because I don't have a camera set up in such a way that I can be straight on top of my picture, so the stuff that is towards the top of the image is broader. You can see that perspective change there, the shift in perspective. It doesn't come out that way in the end, and I will be actually taking an image of this, and I will show that at the end, a JPEG of it. I'm using several different types of vine charcoal. That little black thing on the right that you see there, that is actually a type of vinyl eraser, and it's a very fine vinyl eraser, but it'll erase a little more completely than, say, the um, Kneadable, excuse me, Kneadable eraser is. It's called a Mono Zero, and it's a Tombow product, which I like Tombow. They make some decent things at decent prices. Here you see me starting to now pull in what I consider some of the more chaos elements of the drawing, and you're going to see a lot more of that coming up. Just taking away some of the shadow, adding it back in, taking away, adding it back in. I have found that this is a method that I use where I can correct a lot of the elements that aren't working for me. There's some more chaos. Just kind of getting that in there as well. I love this blending stops that I get. They're made by SOHO. I've used other blending stomps. These are not those wound paper stomps that are like pyramid shaped or cone shaped. These are more like as if they had wet paper that was rolled even tighter than those other ones. You can't really tell where the layers are. I'm sure they must be layers rolled up or something, but they feel a little bit like you just pressed a bunch of paper pulp into a tube and then sharpened the ends of it. But I really like. They're by SOHO. You can get SOHO products at Jerry's Artorama online. The Tombow, I believe, it actually came, the eraser that I used there, I actually got at jetpens.com. They do sell not just pens but pencils as well, and it is made for that, I suppose. But anyway, I'm going to let you just kind of watch this for the next little bit. If I have something to say as it's going along, I will go ahead. Otherwise, I may just even hum. Who knows? I'm going to be here, ready to say something, but I'm not sure what else to say. SOHO Willow charcoal, Strathmore paper, bright white charcoal paper. There's something I could say. This was originally 19 by 25. So the paper I'm using now that I'm drawing on, it's a quarter of that. So that is what, about 9.5 by 12.5. So basically a 9 by 12. There is more of that, putting some chaos into the form, and I will get some of it even in the face. You can see it here and there. I don't want it to look photorealistic. I don't even necessarily want it to look, at this point, I pretty much stopped looking at the picture. And it doesn't really look too much like the picture. It barely looks like John Wayne to me, but I still think it's a nice piece of artwork. Anyway, if you like this video, please hit like. And if you could really do it, share this and also subscribe to my channel. I really would appreciate that. God bless you and have a wonderful day. Bye.